Hello everyone, welcome. This is a new live from the studio. I'm with Galaxy Electric today. We're gonna talk about Buchla and tape reels. Let me send the intro. Welcome everyone. We are with Galaxy Electric. Hi, how are you doing?
Doing really well.
All right, I've got a few people that join us. Asikako, Guzman Music, Schmuster, Malarkey, Benjamin Iso. Welcome everyone. Let me set up these things so I can do the news with all of you. All right, here we go. What do I have today? Let me... Dealing with the settings. All right, so you know my site, pitchymango.org. I would like to thank all my supporters on Bandcamp. Join my Bandcamp community. You will have access to all my discography and album in the making and exclusive. So join it. It's only $20 a year, and that allows me to do all these things. Resident Electronic Music, the next one is set up. It's I set it up on YouTube. I haven't done the form yet to register for it, but you can go and already set the reminder. So that's one thing. Oh, wrong one. Resonant Frequency Live was on the 4th of April, so if you want to go have a look at it, and the next one I've been told will be in June. Sorry, I'm dealing with that. Peak should be this upcoming Wednesday. Let me give you the better link for Picked. Where do I have that? Here we go. So it should be this upcoming Wednesday. I don't know where the artists are, but we'll figure it out soon. Next in the event, I wanted to talk about Synesthesia, Pins for Progress. So they do pins every month, and this month is May is mental health, and they have an event that go with it. Let me find it. Yeah, Artist Feature will be on May 23rd from 5 to 8 p.m. So check Synesthesia. It's electronic music, and that should be May 23rd, so next Sunday. Also, recently we had a Modular World, and I've got a little movie for you with all the Bay Area Left Coast Light performers that were at Modular World anniversary show. So let's watch it. Welcome back. All right, I need to remove this microphone noisy. That will be nicer. All right, so Modular World. So in the artist, we saw there was Benny, there was Electric Kitchen, Alphaster, Malarkey, Alex Barnett. So that was a really cool event, and there's plenty of artists. There's like 30 hours in 3 parts. Everything is keyed in, so you can go and watch whichever artist you like directly. All right, talking next week. So next week I've got all guest stars, so I'm inviting everybody that has been on this show, so we'll have talk about it. And why I'm doing that is because and it's a little bit earlier, it will start at 10:30 a.m. Because at 12 we are cutting down to go to the SoCal Synth Music Summit, the Synth Summit. I'll talk about it in a minute. Just after this whole guest star, the next artist I'm receiving is Tulpadusha, and that will be on the 5th of June. So I was talking to you about the Sun Society Summit. So it's next weekend. It's start on Friday by a couple of performance or night performance. So here you've got all the artists on the lineup. Then on Saturday you got a couple of workshops. So you see the first one start at 12, so you can come at 10:30 for live from the studio, meet plenty of artists that were on live from the studio, and then at 12 you can swap to Synth Society Summit. It will be all hosted by the Colorado Modular Synth Society streaming. And on Sunday you've got also some more workshop, and one at 12 p.m. which is Bukla 5U Surge. Oh my! I will be moderating this topic, and we'll have the Galaxy Electric, Todd Barton, René Bosco, and a couple more folks on this panel, and we are going to talk about everything which is not Eurorack. So Bukla 5U modules, Surge also, so that's gonna be interesting. On the news, so I guess we are going into the Bandcamp style. So you know that I've released a new album, To the Star. Considering it's doing relatively well. It's also on Surround Music 1. The advantage of Surround Music 1 is that you can get the quadraphonic and the 5.1 version, so the original version. What you've got on Bandcamp is a binaural version. What I've seen on new albums, so let me give you the Bandcamp link for album To the Star. From them you will have the link to the Surround Music 1. Okay, next album is so that Panic Girl has released a new album called Blue, so please check it out, it's quite nice. I saw also that I should have removed all these trackers. Laura Escudé also have released a new album. Laura Escudé does electronic music, and she does also some quadraphonic stuff, so check it out. You've got also Lisa Belladonna that are released an album that was based on the track that I think she did for the Sister in Transistor. After the screening of Sister in Transistor here in the US, then there was a mini concert from Lisa Belladonna, and she released the music. What I've seen is that Albany has got a few more Ecoverse vinyl in red, so please check it out. Oh yeah, and Arushi Jane. So Arushi Jane used to go as Oz, and now she's using her real name, so I saw the transition, and she's got an album coming up also. Under the Lilac Sky. So now she's moved from Oz and Gungru, and then she's using her real name, Arusha Jain, and also her nickname Modular Princess on Instagram. So check it out. She's from the Bay Area also, that's really awesome. And the Discovery also, all the way from Italy, Fluidze, I guess I say it like this, Fluidze just released a new album that's also Eurorack modular. It's called Materia. Alright, I think I've covered all the news. Did I forget anything? It's time for us to be with the Galaxy Electric. Alright, and I saw a few people join. Did I say Alex Barnett, the Peronosphora? I see Earth Modular Society. Welcome everyone to the show. How is it going on this weekend?
Hello. I'm trying to keep up with, amazing links, because now my brain's like, I want to go listen to all that music. And, the screens, we're watching all these screens and trying to see, all this information you're sharing. It's amazing. So now I have lots of new things to check out, so thank you for that.
Yes.
And we're doing well. I think we're good, right?
Yeah, the whole streaming thing is really surreal for me. I'm like...
I know, we're time traveling,
right,
we're in different time zones, and we're talking at the same time. It's magical.
And I'll redo the news at the end, so if you miss any of the link, you will have it again.
Perfect.
So who are you?
Who are we? Well, my name is Jacqueline.
And I'm Augustus.
And we, our project is the Galaxy Electric. So that's usually how we, exist on the internet virtually as the Galaxy Electric, but, also as ourselves a little bit. And we also have a group called the Cosmic Tape Music Club for anyone to join. It's a private Facebook group. And a podcast called the Cosmic Tape Music Club podcast.
Where we focus on early electronic music and especially tape musicians and anybody involved in that world.
During the, the space age era, when, technology that was being developed by the military was being co-opted by electronic musicians.
Yeah. Yeah, I've listened, I think, a couple of the podcasts. I think the one on Wendy Carlos. I see you did the recent one with Ali Maldab.
Exactly.
And yeah, that's quite cool. And you do, quite extensive research on the person.
Yeah, so the group, the private Facebook group, is where we all share information, and we end up meeting people who have, either written books about these people or have worked with their music in some way, or, archivists have, come to the group a lot. So we get, firsthand stories and information and, articles and interviews and things sent our way all month long in the group when we announce, which person we're going to focus on. And then, we all research together, and then we present the information in the podcast and share music from the group members, that seems to, kind of correspond with, the topic for the month.
Yeah, well, that's very cool. You do these things because it's interesting. There's a lot of research on the pioneer recently, pioneer electronic music and some old techniques that are still used today.
Yeah, absolutely. We thought, we were kind of alone in this. We knew a couple of people who might be interested, and then it turns out, I think we have over 2,000 members in the group now.
Yeah.
And, every day there's people joining who are like, wow, we didn't know anyone cared about this either. Now look at this community. So I think it's growing more and more.
Yeah, and I think you can check when you check the website, then I think we find the Facebook group and people can join it.
Oh yeah, it should be pretty easy to find, but
yeah, from your website.
Share some things.
Yeah, so I want to remind everyone who's here, if you have got questions for the Galaxy Electric, just put them in the chat and I will relay to them. So how did you get into music? What's your path to music?
That's always fun. Memory lane. Go for it.
Me, okay. My dad played bass in a cover band in the 70s, and he, did it professionally. Played like up and down the East Coast on at like hotels and stuff, hotel bars, and so music was something that was always, it was like legendary in my household, but nobody else really played. So, I guess out of admiration for my father, I, showed interest, and he taught me some things on bass, and from there it's kind of, just expanded, and, now I would say that like sparked an early interest in sound recording. Like, I remember having boom boxes and stuff and doing stuff they weren't supposed to be able to do, to be able to record myself or me and my friends doing like mock, like sportscaster shows and stuff, and listening to our voices back and cracking up and stuff. So like, I don't know, for me, like music was always something that, was in the household, but it was from that like sort of sound recording and experimental side of things, that intrigued me about it.
Yeah, because you studied music a bit, but you also went down like the engineering path.
Eventually.
With your
yeah,
studies.
I mean, it's just so hard to answer that question because it's like, where do I start?
Music is my life. I don't know like, where I begin and where music ends.
Yeah, but long story short, just having a bass in the house, you can get a lot more sounds out of a bass than, just plugging it into an amp. So.
Well, that sounds cool.
I actually weirdly have the same origin story. My dad also was a bass player. It's a very weird thing that we have in common, but just both of our dads are just such music enthusiasts, and my dad had an insane vinyl collection when, I mean, this was the 80s, like, that wasn't really common. I didn't have friends who also had vinyl collections, you know, like that. I was the weirdo who had this thing no one was allowed to touch in the house. So I think I got exposed to a lot of weird music because of his vinyl collection. You know, there was Wendy Carlos in there. There was Zappa. And I think those were my gateways. Also because it was like, it wasn't cool to be into that at my age at that time, as, you know, especially as a female. So I think I always was attracted to things that were like, you're not supposed to be into that, or that's too weird, or you shouldn't like that, or, you know, I would always pull against the grain. But I'm also classically trained, and we had a baby grand piano that was, you know, passed down through the generations that we just ended up with. And so it's, I don't know too many people who grew up with a piano who didn't want to play it and become, you know, obsessed with music. There's something magical about
it's a pretty hard thing to ignore in the home.
Yeah, it was like our biggest piece of furniture. And especially because, you know, my families are musical, you know, and yeah, so music was the happy place in my life that I could escape into. And seems like I keep waiting to be done exploring it, right? I don't think that way anymore, but, you know, it just keeps going.
Yes. So when happened I don't know, the transition to modular?
Yeah, that's probably more of interest.
Right.
What got
in a
you?
Much more. Sorry.
Yeah, what got you to say, oh, I need to get a modular system now?
Right. What is that moment for everyone? That's always so interesting.
Yeah, what made us say, I need to spend the amount of money we could allot toward a car on
or other very important things
a musical instrument. Yeah, that's a good question.
It's such a slippery slope too. I'm sure for most people they can relate that you don't just one day end up with your house being taken over by modular equipment. You start somewhere and then you end up there, and then there's no way out. Mm-hmm. And you don't want there to be, but that's usually how it happens. Well, I would say, you know, synths were always, you know, part of the mix for us in our musical experiences and all the bands that we played in throughout our lives. But with, I guess it would have been like 2010. 2010.
Would you like me to?
It's now where you're going to take over the story.
Take over the story. Yeah. So in 2010, I'd say that's probably around the time that I discovered that there was sort of a modular scene. Well, let's not go that far. Like for me, like, cause we started, like, I just like had a bass at home. Okay. So how did I get into electronic music? I really got obsessed with like the rave culture and, you know, like club style, like house music, drum and bass, you know, all that. I used to spin break beats, like UK breaks from like the late 90s. So it was definitely like a little bit of a club kid. And from there, you know, just always loved electronic music. You know, I bought an Akai sampler and a Axis Virus like around 1997 or something like that. And started also using Reason at the same time because I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like everything's, you know, in the computer and I can save the entire thing as a preset, you know. And so I embraced like both digital and analog technology kind of simultaneously. And I definitely appreciated the tactile nature of working with the Virus B versus, you know, having to point and click with Reason. Even with MIDI controllers and stuff, it's just, you know, it's just not quite the same. You know, so, yeah, so just from there, you know, it was a matter of, I started getting like analog keyboards, like an MS-10, Korg MS-10, and an SH1, and like, you know, some of the popular mono synths from like the 80s. And of course, I've sold those all, and like it's been filtered into other gear. But that's kind of like what started my synth bug, was like noticing the difference between like the Korg MS-10 and the Axis Virus in terms of the sound. If you hear those two filters, it's like night and day. I mean, the Axis Virus has a pretty good filter, for a digital synth, but it's just the MS-10 or MS-20 filter would, just crushes it. So from there, fast forward, it's like 2010, and we're living in Los Angeles, and I'm starting to see some things like come through my social media feed and about people playing modular synths. And of course, being in Los Angeles, we have big city music and Analog Haven, all right there. I remember, meeting Sean from Analog Haven in a parking lot of a taco restaurant, to get some modules off of them, back in like 2011 or something like that. Yeah. So, from there, I like ended up basically building what seemed like an MS-10 in modular format, and I was like, why did I do this? Like maybe it has a bit crusher, and that's like the only thing different. Like, of course you could patch stuff, but the MS-10 is semi-modular anyway. And then, the easel gets announced, and I start getting obsessed with Charles Cohen, and anybody who's ever played the easel. There's not that many people, especially like you can actually find their
like
material.
A performance video or something.
Yeah, and there was like this one particular video, Charles Cohen at the music easel, still on YouTube. It's got a ton of views at this point. But there was something about the sounds that I heard in that little like introduction to this instrument, to this person, that just from then on I've become obsessed with basically recreating that sound, which led me to get was an early adopter of the easel, and now I've sort of sold that to build a bigger clone system, which you can see behind me. And I love it. I'm obsessed. I build the modules now, and I compare different Vactrols, to try to like get different sounds out of the gates and everything. And it's just it's our system, I guess, that we've sort of committed to at this point. We don't have any other formats.
Yeah, no, that's cool. The evolution to the music is all. And the obsession just from one video. It's quite interesting. Controversy say also that she was obsessed with the piano when she was a kid.
There is something about it. Like, I want to crawl inside it. I want to understand it. I want to like play the sounds and watch the strings and watch the mallets.
Yeah.
It's the next bit of gear I feel like we want to buy, to be honest. Like, that's the next synth for us is
a piano.
Is an upright piano. That's the next electro-acoustic garden, that we would like to purchase for our house.
So I guess you're classically trained with the piano and bass. Does it influence your music? How does... how do you convert that into a music easel?
That's a really great question. So I am, I'm classically trained in piano with voice, which was sort of just the thing you could do if you wanted to do music, in my small town before the internet, right?
Right.
It was like, I'm going to take lessons, and then it was like, okay, I like this and I'm good at it, and I work really hard at it, and okay, now I'm going to take it really seriously. And I feel like the deeper that I got into the fundamentals of creating sound with my body, right, and then with this instrument that's outside of my body, and the way that going from a piano, and thanks to Wendy and Bob Moog, a keyboard being associated with a synthesizer is, that's a pretty easy transition for someone like me coming from this classical standpoint, and having those weird records that I grew up listening to and being curious about how those sounds are being made. I think my obsession with the electroacoustic side of things and the way that, I am part of the instrument when I touch, the touch plate as part of the easel or whatever system we might have, is what I'm interested in. You know, like I'm part of this circuit. Is it playing me? Am I playing it? And sound in general, that, you know, the voice sounding like the synthesizer and how we play off that a lot in our drones. I think, you know, there's just a part of my brain that is just curious about sound and how different sounds interact with each other and where they come from and what happens when something you weren't trying to make happen is occurring, and like the physics of that, and like, but also the feeling you get from the vibrations of it. Those are the kinds of things that I'm interested in.
Yeah, the spontaneity of improv is another major.
But yeah, then like turning all of that off and just being inside the sound, right?
Yeah, a lot of our source material, you know, comes from improv. Like, you know, a lot of the music on our albums, you know, we'll start with a jam and then, you know, we can evolve or edit from there. But yeah, we usually start with a little bit of freestyle.
Yes. And so, you know, you had your past as Augustus and Jacqueline. So when the Galaxy Electric was formed, or what got the Galaxy Electric together?
Ooh, that's a fun question too. Well, it was an evolution of us working on our own stuff. You know, we had our own paths and our own work we were doing. We had some things we were doing together, some things we were doing with other people. But we always would work on something together. And this was a pretty intentional project. Like, we want to make, you know, full-length albums, which is, you know, a pretty specific, you know, idea to have. Is like, we want to work together on full-length albums, and then from there kind of realize like we want to create a world for this music and this band and this project to exist within, and for other people to come into and experience as well. So it's really grown from just that seed of like, what if we could be influenced by the music that the people we like were influenced by, like kind of going back a few generations. And I think that was kind of the entry point for us, being like, okay, wait, how did electronic music start? Who are all the players? How did they interact? What's the equipment?
Which led to our obsession with tape. Because
Yeah.
what we realized was that, you know, the early electronic musicians weren't playing a synthesizer. You know, they actually, a lot of them hated them. You know, so
Out of just resentment for how much work it was to work with tape.
well, just, or for it being the new kid in town.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I love the sound of my test oscillator that I have here that's tube and everything. Like, why am I going to change? Like, I can do everything I want to do with speed of tape and, you know, a tube oscillator.
Yeah, it's like a specific medium that you're working in. And then electronic music is this like overarching, you know, world that we put all these things in. But working with tape, I think of as more of like an artisanal, I don't know if that's not the word I wanted to use, but, you know, it's you know, if you worked as a potter, you're not a painter, you know. You're an artist, but yeah.
Just in this
mediums.
moment, it made sense to me why, like, somebody who was obsessed with making music with, like, tape and test equipment would see a synthesizer as being, like, kind of like a why? Like, why does this need to exist? Like, that's not where the magic happens. You know, the magic happens with the razor blade and the ideas, you know, of
and the
what to
constraints that it
to
puts you
record
under.
next,
Yeah.
and the medium of tape, and, you know, being able to, the organization, you know what I mean, is really, you know, where the magic happens in that regard. So I can see why the bells and whistles of, say, like the VCS3 was not necessarily like, you know, people were hooting and hollering, but some people were, and some people embraced it fully and took it to the next level. So
Yeah, so you make tape loop, but also you record your albums on tape, and that's the way you distribute them too?
Yeah, so this newest album, we finally got to like close the whole loop, where we recorded it to tape, you know, mastered it to tape, and then released it on real tape. So that was a vision and a dream we'd had for a while, and it all came together.
a pipe dream. I never thought it would happen, to be honest.
We're in a very special moment, you know, where these things are being played around with, and there are people that care like we do. So It's pretty cool.
In a moment, yeah. Like, I just want to take a sec to
Trying to just enjoy it, right? I don't think it'll last forever.
Appreciate the fact that, you know, we were able to release an album on 1/4-inch tape and people bought it, and, you know, like, I just never thought that would happen.
I think our dream was that people would experience the music on that same medium.
And the album is Tomorrow Was Better Than Yesterday?
Yes, thank you for helping us plug our own album.
We just sold out of the reel-to-reels, though. We literally, what was it, like a couple days ago?
Yeah. So that's been really fun. There's still, we put it on vinyl as well. It's a double.
Still have a few of those left.
On vinyl. And cassette. We love cassette too. Like you said, we make tape loops and use tape loops most commonly on cassette, also on reel, but the cassette ones, we were just watching.
They're a little more conducive to live performance and portability.
Yeah, convenience, reliability. There was a recent documentary made about the cassette tape that we were just watching.
Yeah.
It just got me excited again, because it basically just sells you on all the reasons why the cassette is so great.
Yeah. You have few people in the modular release on the tape. I guess the production is a little bit easier than vinyl.
Well, yeah. Absolutely.
And still a lot of people still have a tape, and it's got this analog feel that's there.
Well, we started releasing on tape in 2013, and no one had a tape player then that we were interfacing with. Like, there was a little
we had
bit,
a little tape label.
There was like a tiny cassette culture thing happening, especially in Southern California. So it wasn't like totally non-viable, and people did like it as like a collector's item. But I remember there was like this moment where people stopped asking us, like, why are you doing this? No one can listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably like 2018. But yeah, now it's like no one asks us like, wait, how am I supposed to play this, or where am I going to get a cassette player?
Right,
that was a very common thing.
Which is one of the reasons why I feel like reel-to-reel has
now become, people are saying that. They're like, I want to buy a reel, but I don't have a reel-to-reel
player. But it's
so
acceptable because it's like, well, yeah, I mean...
It's like, right, of course you don't.
The kids these days, they're releasing on tape and cassette and vinyl and reel-to-reel, and it's, you know, it's like, of course they are. I think it's to be expected. They want us, you know, the next thing is going to happen, the mini disc is going to come back. And I know that a few people have already released stuff on mini disc, but that kind of cracks me up a little bit. Like, the mini disc is sort of like, that's my breaking point.
Let them have it.
I know. But that's sort of where I'm like, wow, that's going to some extent, you know.
Yes, indeed. Or maybe the laser disc is coming back.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Put your next quad album out on laser disc.
Yes, that's where all the quadraphonic used to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, also, you know, on all this format, usually you get a digital download, so you buy the physical object.
We're not those people who are pretending like digital doesn't exist. Obviously, we're streaming on YouTube with you right now. We use all of the conveniences of, you know, modern life as well, because that's how we have to experience things. But that's why it was so fun to, you know, to know that there are people out there listening to our music on the tape. And that's very cool to me. It's like a shared experience in a different way.
Well, I started music production at the literal like dawn of the DAW. So for me, it was, you know, all that really existed and what to learn and what to know. And, you know, I was trying to be an audio engineer professional at the time. So, you know, it's like you had to learn Pro Tools, and maybe, you know, I use Live now, but yeah, like digital's, it's just sort of ingrained into.
Well, we talk about this a lot, like how the people that we study, most of them were stoked about digital and possibilities being endless and computers and all that.
Well, that's what caused the...
Whereas we're like going back because we don't like it.
The analog synthesizer renaissance of, you know, like the late 80s and early 90s, when you could pick up anything at a pawn shop for nothing, you know, like you could get any synthesizer, any analog synth. You know,
it was laughable.
You name it, it was just...
Why would you want this?
You know, yeah, you could just wake up on a Saturday morning and go to a pawn shop and pick up your...
Get them out.
Your favorite synths, you know, and then fix them up. And
Yeah,
So
this time are a little bit gone. I think also, if you like to make tape loops and releasing on the tape reels, then you get all the people that know what tape loops are and how to make them. They've got the equipment and.
No, absolutely. I think
and then
because
they
we got even more into it, and so now, right, like the people who are interested have even more stuff than we do. Like they get it, they know it, right? Exactly.
Yeah. I don't have to worry about anyone who orders a tape loop, being like, it doesn't work.
Wait, what is this?
What's this thing? So I think it's time to play your performance. I think I want to talk to you more about Buchla, and I know that you build some modules, and Buchla is always interesting to source and talk about the difference. But let's go about your performance. You want to introduce it, or I just launch it?
Well, it's, I believe, untitled at this point. I hadn't thought about that, but yes, it is. Live and improvised. I didn't, do any magic to it, but it was also recorded to tape. Yeah,
and it's one of the I don't think we incorporate the guitar very often. I think this has
the guitar.
This has some guitar in it.
Okay.
So
that's yes.
It's. I would say that might be happening more in the future, but
like we said, we might get a piano too. So we're bringing these.
Yeah, we're starting to bring
elements back in.
Some rock and roll instruments back into the mix. Can't help it.
All right, let's watch it and listen to it. Wow, that was really awesome. Thank you very much. That was quite cool. That's what people say. Yeah, good vibe, pretty wild. And I don't know, we'll get to Lachlan question about what you were holding in your hands and performing with. I think there's a preview behind you. So what was the inspiration for this piece?
Well, we're always, trying to find new planets to explore. So the idea is that we use our music to transport us, and sometimes we make it to pleasant environments, and sometimes they're dangerous environments, and sometimes
they're disco groovy.
Sometimes we find other beings who are having parties, and so because we improvise and we try not to, sometimes we might say like, oh, we're going to improvise today and we're going to have this parameter set up or this limitation, but usually we try to have a blank entry point, and the sound plays us and carries us through. So we don't always know where we're going to end up or how it's going to go, which is a metaphor for life anyway.
Yeah, so that
until we start arriving, there's always that moment where like we start to get there.
The journey usually feels the same, right? The arc of it. There'll be that moment where we're like, oh, okay, we're here now. We know we're here. We know where we're at. And
that's the one thing I can say is that we can usually rely on one another to sense what the other one's thinking about like where we've arrived to. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we have a little like telekinesis.
There's some telepathic stuff happening while we're playing. I swear, we could measure it if we had the right tool.
Yeah, because it's interesting. I've performed with other modular synth. We share a clock, but how do you get together? So finding your space. How do you find your space? How do you synchronize yourself?
Okay, yeah, we do actually use MIDI. I have MIDI clock out on my looper, which is a Electro Harmonix 45,000. It's a pretty cool device that I actually modded. Electro Harmonix told me like how I could get an external click out, and they were like, we haven't tried this, but it should work. And they just told me to basically patch out of the signal that was going to an LED of the click, of the actual click LED, and send that to an output jack. And it might require some amplification, but yeah, it'll send you a click on the external. So we base the, long story short, that device clocks everything. And Jacqueline has a Pigtronics Infinity Looper that has MIDI in. And so we're able to, basically synchronize our loopers. Even though most of the time
it's usually,
like we're not listening to a click usually, you know what I mean? Like we're not listening to the synchronization. It's just there if we want. Like I use the metronome as a clock more than I use it as an actual like audio click.
Exactly.
But we can do. Once we're synced, we know that at least like our loopers are tethered together, and that it'll be in this. We can feel the cycle. It's more of a feeling thing, I would say.
But we don't like to be trapped by it, so.
Yeah, it's really annoying to do. Like, it just doesn't feel freeing to do improvisational, meditative electronic music with deep, 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 deep going in your ear. It's like very.
It doesn't.
I have to be in the mood too. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, and the clock is just for the instrument. It's not for the performers.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think Lachlan also was asking, how do you practice these performances? Do you practice them? Do you, or it's like totally improvisation? Or you know each other well and you know your patch and I don't know how.
We do practice. We say like we spent maybe a year and a half in our like woodshed. Not to like say that we're that cool, but that concept where we like stopped playing shows. We didn't put out any music. We weren't on the internet, showing ourselves or anything. We just practiced this because we knew we needed the space to be terrible and not know what we were doing, because we didn't want to go in with knowing what we were doing. We wanted to do something that we didn't know how to do yet.
And understanding that terrible is subjective in the world of...
Well, more like clunky,
right.
Like things aren't working the way we wanted them to, or we weren't communicating the way we needed to. Like just figuring out all of those senses and those signals, and what we even want to explore with sound together was that messy time.
We knew from being in a traditional band with like, bass, drums, guitar, keys, vocals, we knew that there's a feeling of tightness that is obtainable. And we wanted to feel that tightness, in improvisation. And so we knew that it was a feeling that once we were there, we would know that we were there. And then we could start recording to tape and we'd have ourselves some album material. And that's pretty much how the album happened.
That's cool. So like in a normal band also, do you choose your part, like somebody who is going to do the bass and the other one the melody, and somebody is going to do the rhythmic?
Yeah, I think over time we started to find like the areas that maybe our instruments blend best, for who should do what aspect. So we definitely have sort of an unspoken sort of understanding of leaving enough space for each other. That's actually, I feel like, probably the biggest thing we worked on.
Well, yeah, and the way that we do that is, in actuality is like I'll take atonal and she'll take tonal.
Yeah, I mean,
and
at the
those that mixes well together. If I'm just making like atonal percussion style stabs and stuff texture, and keeping a rhythm and having a sort of an atonal texture, then there's space for Jacqueline to sing in any key she wants or sing microtonally. But that's...
And then I play a mellotron as well, which we haven't really talked about, which you can't see. It's on the other side of the booklet. But the thing about the mellotron is that I can blend two sounds, but I can also play with pitch. So I can get into, it's not too detailed, but the microtonal stuff can happen within that instrument as well, which is one of my biggest...
The mellotrons are main acts. Yeah, like the mellotron is badass, to be honest. Like that is a cool... that's like a tape synthesizer, like, just being able to like shift the pitch and combine between two sounds and having them sound like, like each one is an individual, like meticulously digitized tape, and it sounds like tape. You can actually hear the tape noise.
Have you changed the tapes on the mellotron?
It's so... of course you would ask that.
As you are in tape loop.
Well, I think there's a sound bank that you can get. There's a few actually that they've made for those mellotrons.
Yeah, I wanted to do like a firmware update, but you could only do that if you bought the expansion pack.
And she was like,
and it's like an insane amount of money for just like I just want to update the firmware.
Right, it's $300 or whatever.
But they had a lot of expansion sounds, and I tend to, I think growing up in like the Casio era, where it was all about like every sound starts to sound the same, right? Even though it's like it's a dog barking, it's a chicken, it's a piano, it's whatever. I kind of grew up with a lot of those kinds of instruments and that concept, so I'm not super like excited by like give me more digital sounds to play with. I'm just like give me sounds and then I will play with them. I don't really I don't need something to sound like a harpsichord or whatever. That's not what I'm after. But there's something about the mellotron and the way I can play it and the specific things it can do that that's sort of like my sound source that I'm sculpting in my own way.
Yeah, I would say that you are authentically like a minimalist.
Okay.
And in a very cool
that's probably
way.
True.
In a really cool way. Like I can say that
Jacqueline, but I think we had to like hone that more, like you were saying, of like how do we play together when we do have pretty endless options and like the sound can get pretty out of control. So realizing that less is more has been like our biggest lesson in playing together.
Absolutely. Leaving space, stuff just gets so crowded so quick when you're improvising with synthesizers. It's so easy to fill that bandwidth.
We're always like really chasing that one idea too. Like when we start improvising together, we'll end up somewhere, right? Like, and then we land there and then that's like what we're going for, right? Like we really want to find that like story that's trying to be told through sound, that it might be a rhythm or it might be a melody or it might be lyrics, but we always know when we get there and then it's like, okay, now we know what we're playing with and now we're just going to build off of this journey.
Yeah, and I like the analogy because I've improvised like this also with some friend on Modular, and yes, it takes some time to land there. It takes a journey, it takes a time for deep listening, finding your space, and then even with people I've never performed with, after I don't know, it seemed to me like after 2 hours then we started to come and fusion, and then after 2 hours then we start to have something that's coherent.
Exactly. You know exactly what we're talking about. It's when you experience it, you know it. You can feel it.
But it's funny because like the first 1 or 2 hours are okay, but it's not there, and then after then you start to get in sync.
Exactly. You get inside the sound together. You're like riding the rainbow of sound.
It's a wave, when you do longer form improvisations, you can definitely like when you're sort of like listening back to them, you can feel that you're like going in and out of different movements. And it's a lot easier to like listen to it back and say like, oh yeah, okay, we were really in the zone there.
Also, let's shift a little bit. So, Buchla, I see a lot of Buchla modules. So, we were speaking before. You got them for various places, and some of them you build it yourself.
Right. Yeah. So the first one that I ever built was the 245, which is a sequencer, 5-step, 5-stage sequencer. It's pretty characteristic, I would say, of Buchla to have 5 stages rather than 8 or 16. So I really like that module. It's quirky. And from there, I ended up like obtaining the 259 oscillator. I have no idea who built it, but I think that it was probably built, knowing who I got it from, I have a feeling that it was built by Roman himself, but I can't confirm that. It has a serial number on it, so it is the 259R, and the fact that it has a serial number leads me to believe that it, he used to build one like of everything that he made as he was rolling them out. But it sounds really good, and it's got like the more vintagey Vactrols in it. Try not to get too nerdy.
It's okay.
When you build Buchla, I would say like the one thing that will drive you nuts is making sure that you get good backdrolls, because there is just such a scale of how well they do the thing that you want them to do. And so it's hard to get ones that have the right characteristics or characteristics electronically. But yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of what it's
like how nerdy do we get?
I know.
It's hard. I can see you like trying to censor yourself.
I knew that if I wanted to achieve the size system that I wanted, I was going to have to come up with a way to make up for some of the expense, and so
or things not even existing.
Or things not existing, of course, yeah. I mean,
you have to.
If you want a 200 series style vintage Buchla system, your only option is to either obtain an original one, which is almost impossible, from a university or from the drummer of Tool or something like that. But
or you could build it.
Have to build it, really. I mean, that's really the only option, in my opinion. There's a few different people out there that have made those projects accessible. I don't want to plug any of them, but they're out there, and you can obtain kits and PCBs and panels and solder them together. They don't really require much knowledge. Of course, the more the better, but as long as you've soldered like a eurorack kit, it's no different. Or any guitar pedals, any DIY electronics projects. There is not a lot of information out there. I would say that's one of my bigger struggles, was obtaining the information about things that might go wrong during the build, or troubleshooting and schematics and stuff like that. The other DIY platforms that are available for modular synthesis are usually much better documented. I will say that one of my favorite projects in that regard is Dunnington Audio. You can find them at dunningtonaudio.co.uk, I believe. And his Buchla module clones they're surface mount, but they're very well documented. Like, he's got schematics, he's got, the whole 9 yards. The PCBs are open source. So that is if you are looking to get into your first Buchla build, I would say that's probably one of the ones I would recommend. A lot of people are scared of surface mount, and I would just say I bought a magnifying glass, and that was really the only thing that I needed to do to make it a lot easier. I actually prefer it now. It's a lot less hassle to not have to cut the leads in between resistors and stuff. Like, surface mounts, not that bad, actually. I like it. It's clean.
Yeah, I guess once you get a little bit better at the normal soldering, you can get to the precision soldering.
Yeah, I actually bought a practice kit off of Amazon before I built my first surface mount module, and after I did 3 or 4, I was like, yeah, I got this.
Yeah, that's quite cool. To come back also a little bit on your performance, and like Lance say, bring the nerd hit, don't worry. To come back a little bit on your performance, is there any, special tips, modules, or special sounds, or something like, I don't know. Well, what interesting stuff you found on your patch?
There's a good bit of tape involved in a lot of what we do, in terms of anything that doesn't sound like a synth is probably a tape loop. And so I have that running through. I have a modded cassette machine. Actually, I'll grab that.
I was going to say, there's probably some things you could grab.
Yeah.
All right.
Now we're getting into it.
Yes.
So this is just...
Oops.
My headphones back
otherwise.
This is just a JVC tape Walkman that I modified. I took the lid off, and
so
there's a little cable hanging out of the back, and that's just the motor, plus and minus cables, connections. And I have a field kit by Coma Electronic that actually has a DC interface that allows me to, manipulate the speed of this with voltage. So, I then run that back through the system through filters and the SMP by 1979, which is basically a mutable instruments clouds in buccal format. I'll run it through that and, just have, like those sort of electroacoustic sounds going on, as well as the, of course, your typical bleeps and bloops.
And do you prepare this tape, or do you record it live and then play it back?
Usually prepare it ahead of time. Like I tried to capture sounds out of context.
Right.
Even if I sort of have like this little rule where like even if it's something of my, like I'm sampling myself, like myself playing guitar or Jacqueline playing keys or voice or something, I try to just capture a solo performance that doesn't have knowledge of what we're of the context in which it'll be used, and what that will do is automatically like put me in a space of, okay, this piece of audio that I have has no idea where it belongs, so I have to figure out where it belongs, and I'm pitching it up and down and just figuring how it fits into the piece in real time.
That's cool. We are a little bit past the time. It's time to wind up the show a little bit. That's an awesome discussion. So what's your future project? What's coming up, or what's next? Because I don't know.
That's a great question. We are, we did just put out Tomorrow Was Better Yesterday on vinyl and cassette and CD and open reel, which just sold out. So you can listen to that, probably with some pretty fresh ears. It's a pretty new album. And it's on Bandcamp and Spotify and all those places too, as well as our website, which is galaxyelectric.com.
A lot of Buchla,
we are
Chord
doing
Delta, Mellotron.
Yeah. Pretty much this world is what's on that album. We are making a new series of collectible tape loops, which I'm announcing right now. We did a series last year, and again, we do these things because we're excited about them, and then you realize that there is actually, there are people who are freaking out. So we did a series of tape loops that, they were all sounds crafted from our studio and part of like a series of sounds together, and they people really liked it, so we're doing another one and working on the next album.
They're usually always like sci-fi themed.
Yeah.
Like a lot of spacey, out of this world, delay trail type stuff, bleeps and bloops, computery.
Yeah, we're pretty into outer space and sci-fi, if you couldn't tell.
Yes.
Exploring the cosmos and the ways that, electronic music was used in sci-fi way back when.
Yeah, and the idea there is like, it's either a collectible, or if you make music, we just thought like, let's just throw some sounds into the world that could end up in someone else's composition.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. The music,
royalty free.
Yeah, the music from Forbidden Planet.
Yes.
The new Baby and Baron Cohen, if I'm not mistaken with their name.
Yeah. Baby and Baron are a huge influence for us. Very much into tubes.
Yeah.
And, unpredictable behaviors of sound.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right.
Huge influence.
Sorry. Yeah, all right. That's really awesome, and looking forward to listen to your new album when it's coming out, and some of your podcasts coming up. I'm going to go and redo the news and then leave you the word for the end. Let me change all my settings here. I'm the only one behind the keyboard, so that's the control. I leave you here in the little corner. All right. we are back to the news, and all right, so you know my website pitchymango.org. I want to thank all my Bandcamp supporters. If you want to become a Bandcamp supporter, that's awesome. That's allow me to make more music and make these shows and carry on. So you just go to my Bandcamp page and you can join the community and have access to unreleased album and new stuff. The next Resident Electronic Music is set up at least on YouTube. I'll post soon on beimproviser.com the page where you can sign up, but you can at least set the reminder on. Resonant Frequency was on the 4th of April, and the next one will be in June, so keep an eye on this page. Live electronic music. Peak, let me give you the better link. Peak should be this Wednesday at 7 p.m. I don't know what would be the lineup, but it's always awesome and some interviews, so check it out. Synesthesia on the 23rd of May is having May Mental Health, and they will have a couple of performers also. Modular World Anniversary Show was last weekend. Yes, last weekend, sorry. I'm getting lost in space and time. And there was a few artists from the Bay Area. Here, a little preview. So there was 130 artists, a few from the Bay Area. You can rewatch everything on the Modular World YouTube channel. All right, next week I've got all guest stars, so I'm inviting everybody, the Galaxy Electric 2, and we'll have a chat, and that's just before the SoCal Synth Summit. There will be some performance on Friday, but the workshop start on Saturday, or the panel start on Saturday at 12. So we'll start at 10:30 and then drop at 12 p.m. sharp, so that you can all move to Synth Society Summit. Here is the event on Saturday, and on Sunday also there's a few more. Notably, I will be moderating the one at 12 p.m., which is on a non-eurorack format. Bukla, 5U Surge, Omai, there will be Todd Barton, the Galaxy Electric, René Bosquio, and a few more folks. Also, I wanted to jump back to Live from the Studios, the next artist after that. So after next Saturday, the next one will be on 5th of June, and it's with Tulpa Dusha. That's gonna be awesome. Wanted to say I've released a new album, To the Stars. Sorry, I'm doing a little bit my promo. It's binaural on Bandcamp and quadraphonic on Surround Music 1, and there is a free track also that you can play and check all your system if you can take 5.1. So check it out. I give the link on Bandcamp. There's a link to Surround Music 1 from there. Panic Girl released a new album called Blue. Check it out. It's really nice. Laura Escudé also, End of Ness and EP. Lisa Belladonna also released a track which was a performance that she did just after the Sister with Transistor documentary. Please check it out. There's all the women pioneers. Some we talk about it, like Bebe and Baron Cohen and Wendy Carlos, Susan Chaney, and a few other folks. So please check it out. I've seen that Albany has got a few more red vinyl from Ecoverse, so you can get them. Arushi is no Arushi/O/Gungru is no releasing under our own name, so you find it on Bandcamp under our own name, not O's anymore, or maybe she's using both. So she's got a new record coming up. I put the link under the lilac sky, and also I've seen coming from Italy, Fluise. I guess that's the right way to say it in Italian. Fluise has a new album called Mataya. With Galaxy Electric, so let me change this again. We'll put them, all of us together with Galaxy Electric. Let me change this visual. Oh no, I don't need, I'm here. Sorry, I'm just jungling with all the settings. All right, so that was an awesome interview. The Synth Summit, Travassis, people are saying that Travassis is a great interview. As Modular Society, there, Schmuster, also catching up. A few people will catch up on this stuff. That was really awesome to have you, and then talk a little bit of your musical journey and your exploration of space and landing on new planets.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
So the word for the end, and I will launch outro.
Is that something we say at the end?
Yes, I don't know, whatever you want. You got the word for the end?
Yeah, I guess, thanks for having us, and hopefully we have inspired some cosmic thoughts for everyone to explore on their own.
Yeah. Stay cosmic.
All right, stay cosmic, everybody. See you next week at 10:30. It's a little bit earlier. Have a nice weekend, everyone. So nice to see you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.